And now, the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Staton and Tyler Hansbrough.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. This is Sleep Talk with the Big Hawk.
What's up, everybody? It's the Big Hawk. It is a great day to be a Tar Heel. We just smashed the Dukies and sent them back to Duke with an L. Amazing feeling, and it's going to be an amazing pod. You don't want to miss it. So, Sleep, I'm ready.
God, I couldn't wait for this one, guys. If you are heading to work on Monday or like at work, just basking in the glory, what a game. I mean, we kicked the teeth out of Duke on Saturday night. What a game. We're going to get into all of it, kind of break it down. Touch on the Georgia Tech game, which is funny. You know, the last game, I'm starting to wonder if maybe we got a curse going on here at SHWW, because about every time we tell you a team is we do everything but tell you not to worry about them, and then seems to be the kiss of death. Definitely didn't look that great then, but I can't think point of it is it goes to show in the grand scheme of things, some losses don't really matter that much. Big football game coming up next week, Super Bowl whatever. I'm going to talk about how much it bothers me that the Super Bowl is still determined by like letters. Like, just put the number on there so I know which Super Bowl it is. Roman times. NBA trade deadline and all-star snubs. Might even get into that if we get short-winded on anything else, which is unlike me at least. So let's start with Duke, man. So 93-84, we got down 2-0. And never trailed again. Game got tied 22 in the first half. And even though there was a few times there where it, got under 10, which in general kind of made you nervous, it was unique for me because it is an uncharacteristically stress-free game to watch from my standpoint. I just felt like we had it in hand the whole way.
Absolutely. And I agree with you, Sleep. The score was 84-93, like you just mentioned. And the game wasn't even that close. We could have blown the doors off of them if it wasn't for a little bit of a spurt where the Dukies showed a little bit of sign of life towards the end. And let's just say that was an atrocious call at the end of the game on R.J. Davis. I do not know how you look at a review and come to that conclusion. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. And Roger Ayers is one of the better refs in college basketball, and I think he's a good ref. But good God, guys, that was a horrendous call. And I've seen a lot of calls in my life. That one goes right to the top as one of the worst calls I've seen. But you know what? I didn't come here to complain about the refs. They did a decent job, but that call was awful. And I will say I thought the Filipowski clothesline on RJ, I thought that should have been a T, especially in today's game. But you know what? I think the story, the headlines that I take away from this game, the telltale sign, is we bully balled them. We beat them up with our physicality, and I thought Armando showed us what he's capable of doing. And he said, hey, listen, I'm still Armando, and I can still have big games, and I'm still one of the best big men in the country. He had 25, 10, and 5 assists. And when he has nights like that, he reminds us why he's so good. Man, this team is tough. And I really felt like Duke didn't have an answer for him. I thought he handled Filipowski pretty well. And Filipowski's a very dynamic big, can do a lot of different things. He's a tough load. I thought Armando did a great job on both ends against him. And he made him guard. He made him work. He was physical. He dominated the game inside. And I thought that was a story. But also Harrison Ingram, we've talked about it all year. He comes in 21 points, 13 rebounds. That is huge. And we've had our rebounding issues, but he has brought a new life to the team. And I've talked about it. His addition, it can never be underestimated. He's one of those guys that comes into this team and just makes us a whole totally different look. We can do a lot of different things. His versatility inside and out gives us different looks, has the ability to go small, let Mondo kind of do his things down low, but also he's a great ISO post player. And I think there's some times in the season where, we kind of ran RJ, ran Mondo a little bit, and we just need to find a little bit of scoring for somebody else. And he's been one of those guys that, all right, we're going to ISO Harrison. And he's just showed he's been better than advertised. he's probably one of the best transfers in the country, if not the best. Hunter Dickinson's up there. He's up there as well with him. But I will say Duke was a team that kind of worried me. I thought they have very good guards. Jeremy Roach, McCain kid. McCain can play. I thought he got hot a little bit late. Mm-hmm. He can make tough shots. Filipowski's good. I just think that Duke hasn't reached their potential. And that's, Duke received a lot of preseason hype. I just don't think they've played to their potential yet. And I still think that they're a factor and they're going to be a good team, but we're a much better team at this point than Duke is. And that's what I take away from this game. And we are by far the most dominant team in the ACC. And if we keep playing like this, I think we are in Final Four contention. And I feel pretty confident about saying that. I've said all along, big picture college basketball, Purdue and UConn are up there. And Kansas is starting to be one of those teams, and we're right there with them. Mm-hmm. And, I like the direction this team is heading. And also, I want to give a lot of credit to Seth Trimble because what he's doing is not easy. Coming in off the bench and providing us with so much. His defense, taking the best player on the other team and just locking them down night in and night out. He's a guy that has embraced his role so much, and that's not an easy thing to do because I think the ceiling for Seth Trimble is high. I think he's athletic. I think he's dynamic, and I think once he gets more minutes and he becomes, more and more of the picture, I think we're going to start seeing things that we didn't know that he could do. And I love what he's doing for this team, and we've got to give him credit because he is a bench guy that isn't going to take the headlines a lot of nights, but he's doing so much for this team, and he is one of those pieces that is just so important. I love the way he's playing. And also, it was a great victory for us because we didn't have to rely so much on RJ. And it's great to see that we have weapons at, pretty much every end, and we're deep. And I like Sleep, we can lose anybody, but this team, man, we are before the season, I'm just so happy in the position we're at. I just think we're playing so well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, one of the things that we sort of neglect to talk about a lot in the context of the players and who's playing well is Hubert Davis. I mean, look, now what you have to look at is you're going on 3 seasons and 2 of them are a drastic exceeding of expectations. I mean, the first year he was here, he run to the Final Four. I agree with you completely. And ever since we kind of said that, Carolina is in that rung right below those 2 top teams that have separated themselves after a loss to Georgia Tech, I still think that we have played our way closer to, the upper echelon of the league. And I think whatever's going on in the team, they're clicking. You look at the bench players, to your point, you got a guy like Jalen Washington gets 4 minutes, and you look over there on the bench and he's engaged the whole time, and he definitely seems to have some confidence issues from time to time. He's a little growing pains, but I think he's another guy that once he gets his shot and a little bit under, experience under him, he's going to be a lot better. But yeah, as far as the game is concerned, it was very clear that Duke was intent on not letting RJ Davis beat him. And I think in watching the game, I think that they sort of maybe were a little reeled into the fact that Armando hadn't been, producing big numbers. And maybe they thought that, they could, put Filipowski on him and down low and they'd win that matchup. And I mean, Bacot, to me, his performance, aside from the fact that it was like obviously statistically, and if you were at the game or watched the game, it was very clear. I mean, he was the most dominant player on the court, and he stepped up and he needed to. And to me, I've said this, for a few weeks now. I think Harrison Ingram's playing himself into the NBA. Now, I'm not saying he's gonna be a star, but I think he's definitely a 2nd-round pick at this point. His body type, his IQ, to your point, he can post and he's big. I mean, he's 6'7", and he's an interesting player to me because a lot of these kids that are young and just super, super talented, right? Are a bit raw, right? So they come and they maybe stay a year, they maybe stay 2. But the thing that I think a lot of people lose sight of is that, when you come into college at 18 years old, there's a body change element to, getting from 18 to like 23, 24, 25, like your body just changes. And at that point, you know, and that's kind of where I see Ingram. So you're kind of like, all right, well, nobody's ever quote unquote kind of heard of a guy, but now all of a sudden, like his body's filling out, he's coming into form. He's great. He's a great, like technical player. Like he does all the, you know, fundamentals. Right. And man, I think Cam Johnson's got to be the best transfer as far as I know. Maybe we had some other transfer that I didn't realize was a transfer. He's probably the best transfer we've ever had. And I think Harrison Ingram might be better when it's all said and done in terms of like what his role on the team is. I mean, he is, he could potentially, I mean, there's a lot of guys you could call the MVP on the team, but he is so important. RJ, you know, and that's the thing is he demanded so much attention, didn't shoot particularly well, but wasn't dreadful. It still wound up with 17 points, but just affected the game so much because they had a guy on him at all times. And, you know, I thought Cormac Ryan played, you know, a lot of spirit like he always does. And you look at Cadeau, didn't shoot the ball well, but still sort of like possessed some sort of it factor where he was able to get around and move. And the thing about Duke that I found interesting is they got a lot of good finishers around the rim. A lot of their guards are quick and they got to the rim and they were making some layups that like, I'm thinking like there's some degree of difficulty in how they're finishing. It reminded me like, you know, a guy like Ty Lawson. It was like those guys do not remind me of Ty Lawson. What I'm saying is that skill set of just getting to the bucket and the ball just always goes in. Like that's what I kept feeling with those guys. I was like, they miss a couple of those hard shots. All of a sudden the lead goes from 10 or 12 to 15, 16, 18 and the game's over. So yeah, I mean, I really thought that, it was the first time I left thinking we are significantly better than Duke, in a long time. Right. Mm-hmm. And before I shut up, those two calls you mentioned were atrocious. I don't even think they were the worst calls. I think the worst call was on the McCain 3 where Cadeau closes out. There's an obvious no contact, at least I couldn't see it on the scoreboard or I was on the other side of the court where I was sitting, but he came down on his own and just fell. They go and review it now. And this was a 13-point game in the second half with 7 or 8 minutes to go. He shoots the 3, misses it. We get the rebound. They call the foul. They review the foul and they uphold it. And he makes the 3 free throws. We come down. Armando misses. They come down and get one of those layups I was just talking about. It's an 8-point game. And that was when I was like, here we go. No way. Right. But to Carolina's credit, and this is, you know, kind of in general, what I'll end on this topic is they weathered that storm. Like nobody got pissed. Nobody got let the outside noise of the referees or anything never seemed to bother anybody except for the fans. And we were, dude, there was some great takes from dudes in the stands.
Man, absolutely
when they were
amazing.
Making those calls. But yeah, I mean, it was an outstanding performance all around.
Yeah, it was a beautiful night's sleep, and yes, man, sometimes these refs, it's part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree with you. I thought they handled it very well. But I loved Carolina's reaction. I mean, there's, you know, the Smith Center takes a little criticism for being a little quiet, not one of the best, but the Duke night, man, it's electric. Yeah, it was amazing. I loved it.
I told Mary today, Mary and I were there, and I told her today, I said, you know, when you're sitting in hindsight, like I'm hoarse from screaming the whole time. And I'm thinking to myself, like, when you're really at a game and really into it and you're like yelling, later, I thought, I was like, you feel to yourself, like, I don't really care, but I hope I was like not obnoxious, right? Like there weren't other people there that because I was so feverishly involved in it, like I was yelling so loud that other people were. And she was like, nah, dude, like you weren't, because you're the only person you can hear. And I know how loud I was yelling, and the old people and all these whatever next to me are just going just as nuts. I mean, it was a beautiful thing, man.
And I will say, Sleep, now that I'm such a fan, and I go to these basketball games, and I'm out of, I'm not playing anymore. So I grew up going to basketball games with my grandpa, and Ever since I was little, I loved yelling at the refs with my grandpa. Because my grandpa, we used to go to junior college basketball games, and Three Rivers Community College has a great history of college basketball, one of the best junior college programs in the nation. My grandpa, he used to have season tickets, and it was right there at half court, front row, bleacher style. And he used to take me when I was a little kid, and he would yell at the refs from start to finish. And after a few games, I started just going in on the refs. And it was some of my favorite memories of me and my grandpa are just screaming at the refs. And so now that I've gotten older, I love going to games as a fan and just yelling at the refs, because it's such a fan thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it is part of the sport. And I know that I was sitting at the scores table, but I was trying to be calm. But when they made those two calls,
you
that I
weren't
disagreed with,
you weren't. I was watching you.
I stood up and I made it a point to stare down the refs and say, my favorite line is "No way, no way."
Yeah.
And I made a point to stare them down and let them know about that one. But I thought for sure it would be really embarrassing if they honored me at halftime. And then late in the second half, they told me, "You got to go.
Yeah,
You're too loud. Get out of here." But I was loud. But my guy, Sheed, Matthew, not Rasheed Walls, Matthew Roberts behind me. He let him have it the whole game. The whole game. I mean, everything you could think of, he was letting them have it. It was
on the
amazing.
other side of the stadium. So Sheed is one of our good friends. Anybody that's like historical SleepHawk Worldwide fan, Sheed used to do like picks for us, just because we didn't know. I mean, like, guys, I was telling this story a lot that I don't think a lot of people realize is the reason this podcast even started was because we were making fun of podcasts. The next thing you know, we've been doing it for like 3-4 years. Well, early on, we were like, we don't know what to do. So we let Sheed make picks, and every time Sheed picked anything, I mean, dude, you could hammer the opposite thing to the bank and get rich off of it. Until that one night we played Miami in football with Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, and they ran for 891 yards or whatever it was, and Sheed called it. And he's still living on it. I'll write that on his tombstone. But yeah, we're across the stadium, dude. And I mean, all I do is I'm sitting. So Sheed's great friends with Marcus. Sheed is sitting courtside, damn near second row or something. And he's up the whole game. I mean, even when, halftime show and stuff, I mean, She's standing up, just pumping the crowd, you know, and I'm thinking to myself, like, there's got to be one or two people behind him that are like, all right, buddy, like, sit down for 5 seconds. She was in it. Man, that was, and I'll tell you another thing. Early in the game, I can't remember what it was. And I saw Armando down low very early. He took 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps or something like that for a layup, and they just let it. I looked at it, I was like, damn, all right, well, that works for me. But there was another call. Roger Ayers, the
slick back hair. He's
slick
a good
back
ref.
hair. Okay,
Yeah.
he's a good ref. Well, one of the other guys whistled something, and it was like the first kind of bad call. And what it resulted in was Duke getting the ball, and they were inbounding from the sideline. And Ayers came up as the other ref was telling the scorer's table what the foul was, and he looked at one of our like fans on the sideline, I'm guessing this dude's been sitting in that seat for 50 years. And they kind of had this look, and Ayers was like, that wasn't a very good call. And they kind of laughed at each other. And I was like, you know, so sometimes even the referees don't think the other referee made the right call. There's anything they can do about it. I kind of laughed at that. I was like, that's a weird thing to see. But, you know, anyway, it was loud in there. It was a great game. It was loud the whole time too. Great game by the Heels. And so coming off of this, and we talked about it last time, we'll touch on it here. You know, right before that, one of the biggest, I think, most important things is we lose that game at Georgia Tech. It's a trap game. We're all worried about it. They look like crap. But then it just kind of goes to show that over the course of a season, you're just going to lose some games, man. You can't win them all. I mean, I guess you could, but, you know, it's funny because now it's just like, look, we haven't even talked about it, and ordinarily we would, but it doesn't even matter because they showed up and bounced back from that.
Yeah, and also Georgia Tech is one of those teams that they've lost a lot of games, but also they have some players and they play hard against quality teams. Like they smacked Duke when they came to Georgia Tech, so they're a capable team. They also have some big physical guards, and so that can be a problem at times, physical. But life on the road, man, when you're one of the top teams in the country, they're going to have that tough atmosphere. Georgia Tech did it. I know from experience. I've lost there before. They can bring it, and it can be a tough place to play once that place gets rocking.
Yep, absolutely. My highlight of the night was Greg, your brother, wearing the Poplar Bluff Mules T-shirt. And they honored Tyler at halftime for the Hall of Fame induction a while back, which was great. Well deserved, dude. I could tell you were you were swimming, and I was like, we're standing there like, dude, Tyler just cannot wait to not be in the spotlight. It's so funny to me.
They had us out there for, it felt like a year. I thought we can go out there, play the video, and I, waved everybody. Then I started like, oh man, I got to do another round of waves.
Yeah,
the second round, I looked around, I saw my guy over there, Hoots, and I was like, he gave me a thumbs up. All right, let's go. Let's get off.
Guy's still reeling off Tyler's stats, and Tyler's like, all right, man, we got to get out of here. And I thought they were going to come out and start warming up again by the time they reeled it all off. But it was cool, man. I was happy to see you get that credit because you deserve it, man.
Thank you.
It was fun. And Greg, man, the Poplar Bluff Mules, he's always he knows what he's doing. He knows the moment.
Oh, listen, Greg is not a fashion icon. I don't know if he was probably digging for something for Carolina Blue and saw him. He was like, oh, okay. That shirt's about 10 years old.
Yeah, that's great. Well, yeah, it's got to be, man.
Yeah.
It's like Poplar Bluff Mules. I didn't even notice that until I saw one of the pictures they posted. But yeah, anyway. So Heels on a roll. What do we got next? Clemson at home. So,
yep. And Clemson is a very good team. Yeah. Now, at one point, they were one of the better teams in the country and catching a lot of, hype. They do have one of the better bigs. And if you're looking for a matchup, look at PJ Hall versus Armando Bacot. We went into Clemson earlier in the year, and Armando had another big game, and there was a lot of hype about who's the best big in the ACC. And at the time, people were saying PJ Hall. Well, Armando went to Clemson, did his thing, and proved that, hey, I'm still Armando. It was one of those type games, and he came big through us. And obviously coming off of Duke, having such a big game, I'm going to see if he can carry this momentum because he's going to need to. Clemson has two good bigs, PJ Hall and in Shefflin, who's one of those little dirty worker guys, gets a lot of rebounds, scrappy player. So it's going to be tough inside, but it's going to be a battle of bigs. Clemson's a good team, so it's going to be a tough game for us.
Well, I love Mondo's comment after the game. I mean, you can take that either way. If you're not a Carolina fan, you probably don't like it, but basically saying, hey, man, ACC comes through me. I like that because it signifies to me, and Hubert, I think, said this in like some post games about how, he sat down and told him that he needed to put up numbers. They needed him back the way he was. I think anybody's looking at it and sees a couple games where he's single-digit points, single-digit rebounds and stuff like that and is wondering, like, is everything good with him? And, to see him come back and again, we've said this for a couple episodes in a row now. Like, I still don't think that we've had a night, at least that in a game that mattered, where everybody's on. And we haven't really had one where everybody's off either, which I think that's a lot more, I think that would be a lot more uncommon. But, when we come up and play, in the tournament and all that sort of stuff, like if Armando gets rolling and we have a night when RJ's hitting 2 and Ingram's hitting also, and then you're getting contributions. I mean, dude, we're just going to steamroll people.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's going to beat us on a night like that at all. Nope. Nobody. So, we've got, let's see here. I'm just looking at the schedule. We got Clemson at home, at Miami, at Syracuse, against Tech at home, at Virginia. ACC's not all that great, but 3 of the next 5 on the road before you get 3 at home and then go to Duke in the season, in the regular season on March 9th. So we're about a month away. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games left. And we certainly look great right now. So Super Bowl Sunday next week. And I think this is Super Bowl 58. LVVIII or something like that. 49ers Chiefs. I mean, I guess it's going to be a good game. I don't know what it is about this one in particular. I'm not like let's get on this train. Do you think Brock Purdy's a system quarterback?
Well, hell, Sleep. I don't know enough about football to know what a system is. But I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And my take is he's got some of the best weapons, and you can never knock a quarterback for having good receivers, because you could give me a quarterback that hasn't had great receivers and tell me how good their career has been. But no, the reason I like him is because I like throwing quarterbacks. I'm not a big guy that really likes the dynamic running quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. I don't think that, they really win much. And Lamar Jackson is probably going to win the MVP. And listen, I haven't seen him. Has he won a Super Bowl? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. So I just think the throwing quarterbacks, and if he is a system quarterback, he's a hell of a system quarterback.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady, is he a system quarterback?
Everybody kind of like anybody that wanted to make that argument sure shut up about it once he left and went to a different system and did the exact same thing. I agree with you, man. I think Brock Purdy's is great. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's going to be a good quarterback for a long time. He makes the right throws, makes throws on time. He's accurate, and he understands the system. He can execute the system. So, I mean, he makes throws, and it's funny because look, and the same thing that happens, like every time I watch a Victor Wembanyama game, I think to myself, I'm like, I wish I could just text Wayne Ellington and just be like, dude, my bad. You're right. I mean, because it's funny, and my point there is when you listen to what NFL players have to say, it's like, dude, this guy's for real. Just like when you listen to what NBA guys had to say, so when a dipshit like me comes along and says that Victor Wembanyama is going to bust, like, everybody gets it. And so at least I try to learn my lessons along the way. So I listen to what all these other his teammates and other people are saying, and they're like, man, this guy's legit. And a team isn't going to rally around a guy that's not. We see that happen a lot. So I think he's a weapon. The Chiefs are astounding to me how they always just manage to get it. I mean, they went to 6 straight AFC championship games. Now they're in the Super Bowl for like the 4th time in the last 6 years. Or maybe it's 3, but still, it's a lot. I think it's going to be a great game. It's in Vegas?
Oh, hell yeah, it's in Vegas. It's going to be great.
God bless.
It's going to be a great place to have it. And
I think they should have it there every single year. But I guess they have a team there, so they can't do that. But
yeah, I'm not going to argue on that. I think Vegas is a great sporting venue for anything. They can handle about anything you want. Sleep, I have a question on Purdy.
All right.
To me, it's not even close. I think Brock Purdy is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. And and the money, and some people will fight you to their graves thinking that Dak is a great quarterback. No comparison. I would take Purdy over Dak.
100%. 100%. I mean, Brock Purdy is going to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL when his contract comes up if he wins the Super Bowl, especially. I mean, and the thing about Prescott, and this is, look, I mean, if anybody should be like stating this case, it should be somebody in your position, because I ain't been at a competitive athletic event other than like a slow pitch softball game in 20 years. But it's something about when the pressure's on and the playoffs, I mean, dude just melts down, and Purdy's the exact opposite, and you got to think about Purdy from the standpoint of like the pressure was on him consistently because he's fighting for his job last season. Right. And they just win and win and win and win. And everybody's chirping about whether, this year, literally this year, in the beginning of the year, the chirp was, who should they start? Purdy, Sam Darnold, or Trey Lance. And I mean, how silly does that look now?
Yeah.
I think Purdy is, I'm with you. I think I think Christian McCaffrey's MVP, but other than and look, Lamar Jackson was awesome. But if I think if you didn't if McCaffrey's not the MVP, I think Brock Purdy is, personally. I mean, I think he's that good. Dude just doesn't turn the ball over. Reminds me of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, just makes the right throw all the time. And other than a stretch of 3 bad games, they're like 18-4 since he started. I mean, it's just like unbelievable. Dude just doesn't lose. That part is also forgotten. And like, is this guy what do they call him? It's a system quarterback and then a game manager. Those are dude, the guy fucking wins.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, I almost made it through a whole episode without doing that, man.
You're good.
I'm working on it, man. Even my dad said, man, you need to chill now. All right. So, gonna come a long way. And I was even standing there at the game just trying to dadgummit, like doggone it, like shoot. And a couple times I caught myself just like letting it fly. And I was like, man, there's like kids around here. Hopefully they were yelling too. But yeah, I mean, you still got the 49ers. I'll tell you, I don't know. I said the Chiefs were pretenders in our segment a couple weeks ago. As shows how much I know. Feels like the 49ers are like a little chipped up, a little banged up. I think it's going to be a close game. I tell you what, you better buckle up, because if you don't like Taylor Swift, it don't matter. You can get it shoved down your throat for about the next 7 days, because as soon as she's got a concert in Tokyo. And I don't remember if it's before or after the Super Bowl.
It's after.
After. And they basically got it all calculated.
Oh, yeah.
She ain't going to be on the field after the game. She's going to be – actually, no, I take that back, because she's supposed to get there a day day. Yeah. She's good.
So
she's
I'm a big Swiftie.
I love Taylor Swift.
I'm a big Swiftie.
Yeah.
And no, I'm joking.
No, why not?
Man. My bro, hey, bro. Do you think she's going to the game?
Oh, 100%. No doubt. All right. No doubt. This is big for her. Look, I'm not one of those. Look, Taylor Swift is Taylor Swift. There's like this thing ain't making her, but this is making her bigger deal.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do, because she's a big deal.
Oh, man, it is. She's big. Yeah.
Look, man, everybody's hating on it. I mean, that's like, whatever, dude. I think it's fun and entertaining. Like,
yeah, I like it.
Who gives a shit how many times? Like, everybody's mad about how many times they show her on TV. It's like, buddy, what would you rather watch? Like a mesothelioma commercial or what? I mean, like, we're just gonna sit here the whole time anyway, and everything will play for 4 seconds.
The fact that you can say that, it just shows you how much it's on TV.
Oh my God! I mean, okay, Super Bowl commercials are going to be a little better, but I mean, come on, I'll check out what Taylor Swift's doing in the booth. I mean, she better not be slugging them back though. That'll be a long flight to Tokyo if she's going in on fireballs up there or something.
How far? I think it's about 13 hours. Where's in Vegas? It'd be about Vegas, 13 hours, 14
really?
hours.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't even seem that bad.
No, it's 16
it's already
to
out
Hong
there
Kong.
on the West Coast. She's on a private jet. Probably got a bunk bed in there, man. I mean, she's good.
Yeah, she ain't flying coach.
Yeah. Yeah, she ain't in the middle seat. I tell you that much. All right, dude. We got right up on it, but we're going to talk real quick about. I don't even care about a trade deadline. Here's what I'm going to tell you about the trade deadline. And I don't care if anybody cares or not, because I care. Jonathan Kuminga ain't going nowhere. Okay. Everybody sort of like started to fall asleep on my man here after he flipped out on, said that he didn't feel like coach, like Steve Kerr. Appreciate him. He is statistically a top 10 player in the NBA since that happened. Dude's averaging 26 a game.
Do you think they'll keep playing him, or do you think they're trying to showcase him for a trade deadline?
There is no way they trade this guy. No way. If they trade Jonathan Kuminga, I will do the entire next podcast with my shirt off. And I do not want to do that. Believe me.
I do not want you to do that either.
Okay. Well, wait. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. He ain't going nowhere.
All right.
Nowhere.
All right.
He's playing at an all-star level. Are you watching this, dude? His true shooting percentage?
I'm not.
Dude,
I'm not.
I'm telling you. All right.
One's because they play about 1 a.m. around.
Yeah,
here.
well, that I definitely been doing a lot of like watching the game the next day, but his gosh, man, I did a nice little call out, but I forgot. I because your boy Jeff Goodman threw some heat at him on Twitter, and I was like, and it's ever since that tweet and the haircut. I don't know if anybody follows dude, but dude got his haircut, and then some guy said that posted a picture of Mickey Mouse with no ears, and even Jonathan Kuminga liked it. And some guy said, "I've never seen somebody." I'm gonna scale back the language, but he said, "I've never seen somebody whose barber messed him up get more confident." And I mean, dude, his first haircut, like everybody was trashing on it, and all of a sudden he got in the starting lineup, and he's getting 20 a night. He's had a run of 8 straight games with 20. He had 16 last night, but Steph Curry shot the ball 99 times, had 60 last night, and they still lost. But and he's not just, he's shooting like 60, almost. I think he's shooting like 63% from the floor, shooting 48 from 3, shooting 75 from the free throw line. Rebounding 6-6 a game, rebounds, 2 or 3 assists, almost 2 steals a game, not turning the ball over, fouled out last night. But I'm telling you guys, he's an all-star next season. Big deal. Okay. Speaking of all-stars, he's not an all-star this season, that's for sure. He got snubbed from Future Stars game last year. There's a lot of all-star snubs, but the trade deadline, all of a sudden, like Zach LaVine got hurt. And I don't know. I don't think anything interesting is going to happen. The trade deadline.
It's going to rain. Hey, we'll hear some rumors. I think it's February 8th.
Yeah, I mean
somewhere,
it is
one of those days. It's coming up.
Wednesday.
There's going to be
Thursday maybe. Yeah.
There's going to be a little bit of. There's going to be a little back and forth. There's going to be some rumors thrown around. I will tell you my craziest trade story that I've seen in the NBA.
Yeah,
there's a hard trade deadline. So. You trade somebody, it has to happen before 3 p.m. If it happens at 3 p.m. with 1 second after, trade is done. Doesn't happen. So I was a teammate with Josh McRoberts, and he got traded. Then everywhere ESPN was reporting.
Josh McRoberts, former Duke player.
Yeah, former Dookie. I played with him at the Pacers. Trade deadline. There was some trade. There was some trade with him involved going somewhere. And all of a sudden, the league says, no, the trade wasn't finalized by 3 p.m. Sorry. And so the trade got denied. So the next day, he had to come back into the locker room. All these players that were about to go to some other team, they all went into the locker rooms, and I had to be in the same locker room as McRoberts, who he was a really good teammate. He's a really good dude, too. And he was just like, oh, just going to act like nothing happened, huh, guys? The management, coaches, everybody like, oh, hey, how you doing?
That's got to be the hardest.
Loved it.
Gosh, because I mean, you start thinking about all these guys like Andrew Wiggins and look, like I said, I'm not even a Warriors fan. I am now because I like Kuminga, but I just always liked the NBA. And all these guys, like, dude, Klay Thompson last night, I mean, that dude couldn't throw the ball in the ocean if he was standing on a cruise ship. I don't know, man. That's who they need to trade. It won't happen. That's who they need to get rid of.
A tough situation for the Warriors because I do feel like a lot of franchises walk that line of they have players who have meant so much to the organization, but do they give them a few extra years, and are they extra patient with them just to see if they still have a little bit left in the tank? And that's a fine line because you can really set a franchise back years if you hold on to some of those guys. And I do think that the Warriors, as good as their team once was, I think they're walking that line of whether they should start to develop some of their younger guys like Kuminga and give him a much bigger role because he could be one of those guys that is the future of that franchise is going to be a big piece. Whereas Klay, he's had some injuries. He's getting older. Do they want to pay him all this money and still have him be a big piece and have younger guys like Kuminga sacrifice some development? And that is a fine line of setting a franchise back. And if I were running the program, I believe in developing and taking care of the future regardless, because I don't think, and I usually stand up for players, but I do not think that the players are as loyal as some franchises sometimes. And I think somebody in the upper position that gets a lot of money, they have to make these hard decisions, and that's what they're paid to do. And so I wouldn't be surprised if I was running. I think that there could be some moves made just to develop the future and have some of these younger guys. But you still have Steph Curry, who still has a lot of good years. I just think the surrounding pieces aren't as good as they once were, and they're a little banged up. That's why I would try to see them make a move.
And that's the interesting part too, is like, okay, so Steph, apparently, I just read all the time about all this stuff because I've been wondering whether Kuminga is going to go anywhere. And apparently it's like, and as it should be, like nobody's going anywhere without Steph's approval. Mm-hmm. And obviously Steph and Draymond are like, and Klay Thompson are a huge core, right? And Kuminga notwithstanding, like I just think Kuminga is if I were not a Kuminga fan, I would be looking at this thing. Kuminga is a piece that they want to keep.
Yep. And
the two expendable pieces that they really have under contract are Wiggins and of course Chris Paul, which would basically have to be, a cap move. And the hard part is do you come off of Klay Thompson, because he just had a horrendous year. For all intents and purposes. And, you go, there's all these rumors out there, you send him like a guy like that to Atlanta for like DeJounte Murray and Clint Capella. They need size. They don't have it, right? Those are two things. And then that's the question, right? Is even if they have anybody, because that was the deal with Siakam. They were like, hey, if you trade Kuminga or whomever and get Siakam back, but I don't think that makes him a contender, because they're just not it's just not a magic bullet. But, with the emergence of Kuminga and then with Draymond back and Wiggins, actually, when they play those three on the floor together, I mean, they've got it. But they don't have enough depth at that point. Yeah. They got like Corey Joseph and stuff coming in off the bench. I mean, so now the point is, if you move a couple of those guys that you really don't want to move, can you now bring in people, sneak into the playoffs and get your rhythm? And now all of a sudden you've got guys that have been there before. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can tell you, I doubt anybody wants to play the Warriors in the playoffs, regardless of how bad a season they're having.
Yep.
If they're playing well, right? So,
I agree.
But at the end of the day, a guy like Klay Thompson, you bring a good point. Like I think Klay Thompson is a cool deal. Like, I mean, I'm not a Klay Thompson fan. And somebody that's been there, he's part of the identity of the whole dynasty, basically. And it's interesting because, players tend to not be very loyal. In some instances, of course, like teams aren't quite loyal, but this is a tough one, man, because the fans love him and all that sort of stuff. And and if you dumped Klay Thompson, it's like you kind of gotta like definitely at least make the playoffs this year. Otherwise, you're like, man, I mortgaged it for what? For nothing.
And you got to keep in mind, he's had a torn Achilles. And there's no athlete that has come back from a torn Achilles that's been better than they were prior. Yeah. That changes a basketball player's future, and you're never quite the same. And he's also had an ACL. So there's a lot of mileage and a lot of damage. And, you've got to weigh that in, and somebody's got to make that hard decision. If it were me, I would try to move on and find some pieces and develop the future, and then see if you can't sneak into the playoffs and get hot.
Yep. All right, guys, before we get out of here, feeling good after a big victory yesterday. Should bring back the always popular cookie review. Look, I found this thing today. Look how big this is. Can you see this on the screen?
It's like a biscuit. What is that?
Look at that. That is chocolate chip cookie.
Nice.
This is a good camera. You can't even see the chocolate chips in there, but I promise you they're there. This is from Bolted Bread in Raleigh. And I'm telling you, man, you go up that place on the weekend, shout out Bolted Bread, and it's a line around the corner.
Guys, we're going to bring this back. I love you sleep right now. God bless, dude. This thing is hard as a rock.
Yeah. Well, I've had it in a bag all day. I kind of it was all I could do, guys, not to eat them. I got two of them. I ate one at 9:00 this morning because I was feeling good. I mean, these are the size of a hockey puck. My wife also made banana bread. To be eating a lot of that. It's got chocolate chips in it. A little hard. That's my fault. So this is you can tell this is an authentic cookie. Like someone made this by hand. Like there ain't no put all this stuff in a big. No, this is this is a good cookie. I mean, crunchy on the bottom, Got this high definition camera now too. It's kind of like, maybe I feel like the world is watching me eat, even though there's 100 people that are going to watch this video. All right. Somehow, despite its size, I could still eat 4 of these, and 4 is like my cutoff for docking points, right? Because if anybody knows me, it's like, I got a sweet tooth, man. I ain't giving you a good review if I can only eat one of your cookies. We need a Frisbee. I don't need a sheet cookie, right? It's a competition, man. I want to feel like I'm putting them down. So I'm not losing points for that. This cookie would be softer if I hadn't held onto this thing in my car for like 10 hours. So great cookie. We go 8.1.
Wow. Solid rating.
It's a very good cookie.
Very good.
I also buy a lot of bread from Bolted Bread. As you might imagine, they sell bread. They mill their own flour and stuff. Dude, I'm a big bread guy as well. Sesame pan. Like, I don't even buy bread at the store anymore.
I'm gluten intolerant.
Well,
I'm joking, guys.
This has got the good gluten. I know you are. I know you're a big gluten sympathizer. They mill their own flour, so apparently, like, the gluten in this stuff is like less hard on you. Break it. I'm telling you, this is like, I will go buy a loaf of bread. All right, I'm not even kidding. This is like free advertising for these guys. If you're in Raleigh, I'll buy a loaf of bread and like snack on it. It's like that good. So shout out. Also, get you some of those crab cakes of the sea. My guy Jimmy, dude, I texted John to see if he was coming to the game from Jimmy's Seafood. He said, "Man, it's been the longest week of my life because they had the Ravens." I didn't even realize he's not actually a Ravens fan.
Really? I would have never guessed.
Me either. But
who's his team?
I didn't ask.
Oh shit.
So what an asshole move by me. Anyway, guys, go Heels. I mean, what a game. What a week. February is just kicking ass already. You got anything else, Big Hawk?
Stay safe.
Stay safe.